Hi everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Reagan. If you haven't watched any of my videos before, we're back to week 7 of me posting videos. Very exciting. I'm actually so happy that I started doing this. And this week I really want to talk about making changes and how to make changes that stick and being realistic with yourself and improvements and a lot of stuff that I've learned in the past year. So what made me think about this? In fact, I wasn't going to do my episode this week on this topic, but I was at the gym yesterday and I got on the treadmill and I always get the weirdest metaphors for life things at the gym for some reason. And I was just thinking, I was like, when you get on a treadmill, obviously you slowly increase the speed by zero point 0.1 increments, tenths of increments, to build up to whatever speed you want to be walking or running at, right? No one gets on a treadmill already starting it at speed 12 and expects to have a successful run or a successful workout, walk, whatever you want to call it. And the comparison that I made in this little head of mine is, why do we expect big changes to stick in our lifestyle, our health, our relationships, our mindset, pretty much any category of your life that you want to make changes? Why do we expect changes to stick if we're making these massive shifts from where we are right now? Like, if you have not ran a mile in a long time, you're not going to start at 10 speed on the treadmill. If you want to build up to that, you got to start slow, and you can't increase it drastically because then you're expending so much energy trying to just keep up with this way adjusted, way uncomfortable speed that you're not used to. So it kind of relates to human nature and biology in the first place. Humans are very good at adapting. Our brains like taking in new things and implementing them at a slow pace. We don't like going from one extreme to another. It's like shocking your system pretty much. And our brain is not built for that. You're not built for that type of change in a sustainable way. There are some exceptions to this in terms of like really getting out of your comfort zone as a push to maybe get you to a different level, but maybe for like one specific thing, like a program or an event or something like that. Not as much completely drastically change your entire life around and expect yourself to be able to uphold such high standards and expectations, completely shifting entire lifestyle things with no buffer zone in between to adjust. So this actually I have a mechanical engineering degree, and this actually made me think back to entropy, learning about it in thermo and heat transfer and other engineering applications. Let me just say, I hated thermo. I despised it. But anyways, entropy is basically a measure of disorder in a system, and it essentially makes a lot of heat transfer and thermo equations very annoying. So what we engineers love to do is just simplify to the absolute bare bones that we possibly can and say that every possible condition and every source of uncertainty is perfect. So simplify that and do these equations. Did people still average 40s on the exams? Yes. But anyways, irrelevant. So entropy measure disorder, but you can ignore it if you assume that if you assume that your system is changing at a slow enough rate where that disorder is not going to affect your system, or it's going to be negligible in relation to the change of the system, if that makes sense. Please follow along with me. I'm done talking about engineering. um, but it made me think about entropy because that disorder, when you're making changes, the way that you can bypass and avoid that is by making small shifts. And I have experience with this in my past year of a lot of self growth I've done and introspection and realizing a lot of things and coming into greater awareness of psychology and mindset shifts and habits and growing and all the good things. When a year ago, literally December last year, I was the first time I really got out of pretty much 8 years of constant chronic stress and grinding and being very, very, very busy. And I kind of actually like took a back seat and I was like, whoa, that was fucking wild. Way too much. And I was so detached from myself and I was so unwell. Like, so unwell. It's not even funny. Not unwell in the way of being super like struggling a lot mentally. I wouldn't say it was like that type of like depression or anything like that. but I was just so anxious all the time, so stressed, again, so detached from myself, just always having something to do. And stress can be addicting, by the way. Any state that you're used to can become addicting, even for your brain. Even if it seems counterintuitive to be like, how the fuck can you be addicted to stress? You can be addicted to stress. Cortisol, adrenaline, whatever. I'm not getting into that. But I was so detached from myself. I was just so like, I came across some accounts, some people, some podcasts that really brought me into greater awareness of this stuff. And I was like, oh my God, I have a lot of things I want to work on. I have a lot of things I want to shift. I have a lot of different changes I want to make in my life that I think would make me happier, healthier, and bring me more fulfillment and bring me kind of back to myself. Because I was like, basically, I had kind of been looking at the whole like pile of shit that I felt I just had to work through. And at the same time, I was thinking, okay, if I just do this little thing, or if I invest here, or if I put a lot of time and energy into thinking this way, then everything's gonna be perfect and it's gonna be a quick shift, right? Like everything's gonna be magical butterflies and I'm gonna be like the most abundant, wealthiest, craziest, like woman in the world. Great, that's a great goal, but does that happen that quick? No. Big goals always take time. They take a lot of time and they take small shifts. And again, the main point that I want to drive home, it might seem very simple. It's not like this is rocket science, more or less, for me to be telling you guys this, but I'm just telling you from my personal experience and already knowing it, ignoring it, then realizing that it's true and coming to terms with that, learning it. I would like to share with other people to kind of save you guys some time and also save you some energy in being so hard on yourself for not being able to stick to changes. Big changes take small steps. Literally, just, I mean, obviously we all know this. I already said that. I just want to check my notes because I want to make sure I'm not missing anything. But yes, everything happens slowly. Even small shifts, going to bed earlier. You will have a lot more success going to bed earlier if you break it down into such smaller steps. Go to bed 15 minutes before. Get used to that. Go to bed 15 minutes earlier and just keep going until you're going to bed at a time you want. Those slow shifts are what actually creates sustainable growth. So New Year's resolutions relate to this, obviously, because you try to make goals that shift you from one state to kind of an extreme other one. And it doesn't stick because it's such a massive shift. You haven't given yourself any time to adjust. You haven't warmed up to it. You haven't slowly built up the speed on the treadmill. You just went right into it. You ran so fast and then you fucking fell on your ass because you were not used to that speed. And then you were like, fuck this, I'm not doing this anymore. And then you just are mad at yourself and you are angry and self-sabotaging and then just horrible self-talk and thoughts, and then it's just a whole spiral of just unreasonable expectations and then failing, even though failing's just learning, and then it's just like pinging back and forth between those two. So you can mitigate this by, the thing is though, let me just say, for having goals like that and aspirations that might seem like they are so out of the realm of where you are at right now, that does not mean that they are invalid, and that does not mean that you should still pursue them. It just means that you need to make shifts more gradually in smaller increments to actually get to that point. So I don't want to seem like I'm trying to say, oh, if you have the goal to get really healthy and right now you feel like you're really unhealthy, scrap that goal, you're fucking screwed already. You have to start like one less chip at a time. Like, that is not what I'm saying. I just mean that keep those goals, keep the ideal dreams that you have, but don't expect yourself to completely shift everything so drastically without giving yourself time to slowly and gradually shift into it. Because, as we know too, our brains like instant gratification. So slow slow progress to your goals is not something that your brain's going to be like, I love that. But something that can help this is having small rewards for yourself, making small steps that are doable, that are reasonable, that you feel like you can actually achieve, that make you feel just a little bit better. It's like 1% better in Atomic Habits. If you haven't read this book, read this book. Go read the book. Ask for it for Christmas. Like, I'm telling you, just it simplifies everything so logically, and I feel like it's a pretty easy read. It's so helpful. Read the book. But yes, if you make small shifts and you feel like, well, I'm barely making changes, so how is this satisfying to getting me to my big dreamy end goal? Once you start, you will find satisfaction in feeling the progress that you make. As soon as you start to see results, that's when the tides kind of shift. That's when you start to gain positive momentum because your brain can get more, like, pretty much as close as it can get to instant gratification by doing those small steps and having those small wins and then continuing on that. And once you start to see progress and growth and make actual changes that stick, that is when you start to have positive momentum in the other direction. So that was pretty much the gist of all I wanted to talk about. So making changes with small steps, small reasonable steps that can get you to your end goal. It might not be super fast. It might not be tomorrow. It might not even be in a year from now if you're trying to heal things like a dysregulated nervous system or stress addiction or things like that. But it will be worth it once it happens, and it takes time. So that is my TED Talk for the week. Thank you for thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Please like, subscribe, comment, help the algorithm. I'm going to put my socials in the description as always. And I will be back again next week for week 8. And that would be 8, 9, 10. Yeah, 10 weeks. 10 weeks from me starting to the end of the year. That's honestly perfect. And I've said I want to start a podcast next year, so this is just a little warm-up teaser to that. So I hope. So anyways, have a fantastic night, everyone. Have a great day, evening, wherever you are. Have a good week. And I will see you next week.